Good morning, everyone. Hello, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Lauren Lauder, and I am a health educator with the perinatal programs at the Wisconsin Women's Health Foundation. I'm excited to have here with me today a few leaders that we have in Wisconsin's tobacco prevention and control. Jaime Zach, the smoke-free multi-unit housing coordinator from the American Lung Association, and Spencer Straub, the Media and Communication Coordinator for Wisconsin Tobacco Prevention and Control Program. So thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, happy to have you both. We're here for our webinar, What's Going On in Tobacco Prevention and Control, looking at the new Housing and Urban Development Rule and the new campaign, Tobacco is Changing. So first we'll have Jaime Zach speak on her presentation that's providing us with details about the U.S. Housing and Urban Development Ruling that restricts smoking in public housing nationwide, and she'll explain how tobacco-free coalitions are supporting these authorities through the transition. Then we'll have Spencer Straub, who will follow with an overview of the new Tobacco is Changing campaign, which focuses on raising parents' awareness on the new flavored tobacco products that we have and their popularity with the new younger generation. As we know, tobacco doesn't just include cigarettes anymore. There are many other tobacco products that we need to be aware of. So I will turn it over to Jaime.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for having me. Thank you. So by the end of the session, today we're going to discuss the Clear Gains Initiative, the purpose of the HUD smoke-free policy, and learn how tobacco-free coalitions are supporting the implementation process across the state. So a basic rundown. Clear Gains is Wisconsin's smoke-free housing initiative. It was launched in 2012. Our vision is to have smoke-free housing available to all Wisconsin residents. Our mission is to inform Wisconsin property owners about the business and health benefits of offering smoke-free policies in the multifamily buildings, as well as to provide resources for making residential properties smoke-free. This is a big project, and we most definitely cannot do it without our partners. We work with other nonprofits, restoration companies, American Family, some of the larger statewide housing associations, housing authorities, and most recently we've been adding fire departments to our network. Historically, these partnerships have been used to help us shape the program and bounce ideas and thoughts off of. Smoke-free housing is trending. Since 2012, when HUD looked for public comment regarding the HUD, could continue to support the implementation of smoke-free policies for public housing and multi-unit housing. In October of 2014, HUD released Changes in the Air, an action guide for public housing authorities to voluntarily establish smoke-free policies in public housing. Since 2009, more than 600 public housing authorities have voluntarily implemented smoke-free policies in at least one of their buildings across the nation. In Wisconsin, we've had 76 voluntarily change their policy. Since we started in 2012, we've also helped 180 private properties voluntarily go smoke-free. It's also much more common for new construction open smoke-free. Since 2012, Wisconsin has had, 76 public housing authorities go smoke-free. So we're super excited about that. So why should buildings pass a smoke-free policy? Well, our three main points is that it's profitable, popular, and legal. It's profitable by lowering your cleaning and renovation costs in the turnover process, as well as decreasing your chances of accident fire expenses. It's popular because tenants are looking for smoke-free housing. 3 out of 4 Wisconsinites already have a no-smoking policy in their home. And most importantly, it's 100% legal. Passing a smoke-free policy is absolutely no different than passing a no-pet policy. So a basic timeline. The HUD Rule was published in the Federal Register on December 5th, 2016. The rule took effect on February 3rd, 2017. The rule gives public housing authorities 18 months to implement their policy, meaning that they'll be smoke-free by July 31st, 2018. So what does the HUD Rule cover? It prohibits lit tobacco products in all indoor areas, common areas, administrative office buildings, as well as within a 25-foot buffer from the buildings. It applies to all public housing authorities, including single-family units. Public housing authorities can add additional voluntary restrictions, but it's really important to remember that we're banning smoking, not the smokers. So prohibited tobacco products include cigarettes, cigars, pipes, hookahs, and other devices that burn tobacco. The rule does not cover e-cigarettes, Section 8 housing, mixed financial developments, privately owned housing, and tribal housing. Public housing authorities for voluntary restrictions have included e-cigarettes, extending the 25-foot buffer area, having smoke-free areas such as playgrounds, gardens, parking lots, etc., having a completely smoke-free property, or designating smoking areas. So what does this mean for public housing authorities? They need to document the policy in their annual plans, write the prohibition into tenant leases, and notify their residents a minimum of 60 days prior to the implementation. While I know the thoughts of enforcement don't necessarily extend to the public, I think it's something we need to discuss. As I've been going to conferences the last few months, people's biggest concern is enforcement. I can't say I've never had a tenant call saying that their smoke-free policy isn't being enforced. So to help with this, we recommend having a clear and graduated enforcement approach that includes escalating warnings. Most enforcement plans that I've heard have at least 3 or 4 steps. Smoking is an addiction, so it's important to understand that one or two warnings can limit the opportunity for change. But on the flip side, having too many lack the seriousness of the policy. If the policy isn't being taken seriously at the managerial level, it won't be at the resident level either. A 3-step example would include a verbal warning, a written warning, and then an in-person meeting. The rule is also benefiting more than just the residents. It's benefiting guests, neighbors, staff, and pets. You might laugh at the pets point, but some people care more about their pets than their neighbor, and for them, they're willing to go outside. At a conference last month, I had a maintenance worker come up to me and say, "Thank you for helping me and our building go smoke-free. Because it's so nice to have that smoke-free living area, he now gets a smoke-free workplace." He said as a non-smoker, it was really hard for him to go into all the smoked-in units. It also helps support quit efforts, motivate quit attempts, reduce secondhand smoke exposure, and keep residents engaged with what's going on with where they live. At the state level, we have this building is smoke-free signage. Some include e-cigarettes, some are in English, Spanish. We have different options like that. We have a variety of fact sheets on health effects, enforcement, so forth. We have these great templated how-to guides where you can plug in your information. There's also addendums that you can use. A lot of question and answer resources. We also have a bunch of different connections across the state. And most recently, we've been working on a housing authority survey, which once that's concluded, we'll use that information to help other Section 8 and market rate go smoke-free in the future. I highly recommend you check out our website for the fact sheets, the Q&As, sample resident letters, surveys, the lease language, and more. It's www.wismokefreehousing.com. So at the local level, we have 15 multi-jurisdictional coalitions that are available and willing to help. These guys are hands down the feet on the ground and absolutely amazing at what they do. I cannot say enough good things about them or recommend them enough. So if you have questions or are looking for some local help, give them a call. As you can see on the map, they're broken down by county. Each color represents a different coalition. If you go to our website, click on Making the Switch, you can pick the county that you're in, and then you'll get the right coordinator's information. So like I said, the local coordinators rock. They do outreach to owners, managers, directors, board members, and staff. So when you're ready to get your residents involved, they're great at supporting them as well. They have done resident engagement sessions and educational presentations and are able to involve their local partnerships. During a resident engagement session, they explain the what's, whys, and hows of the HUD ruling, along with the details of their own policy that will be taking place. Listening to those residents and hearing what they're concerned about and see if there's any way they can help with that as well. I know one session I went to, the coordinator wrote down every concern that they had and gave it to their building's board for consideration. Some things can be as small as living in a neighborhood where they don't feel safe and that there's violence outside at night and there's no lights outside. So by writing that down and just letting people know that this is, a worry, it tends to help and make them feel involved. Educational presentations can be based off of each group, and they can discuss anything from secondhand smoke, thirdhand smoke, cessation, etc. I know one of the coordinators that she comes in and she plays tobacco bingo in Jeopardy to keep her residents involved. So the coordinators are not funded to specifically execute cessation treatments, but they have used their local partners to help with that. We've had some coordinators partner with nurses, health departments, freedom from smoking facilitators, and firemen, and I'm sure many others that have made themselves available to reach different crowds in different ways. So as we move forward with these resident engagements, we've learned how important it is to hear the concerns of the residents. Building their trust so they talk to you is so important, along with providing resources for cessation if they're interested. And having buy-in from managers and staff is huge. Like I said earlier, without everyone being on board with this policy, it will be exceptionally hard for it to be successful. Moving forward, we want to keep talking to how to enforce the policy, continue on-site sessions, and keep providing technical assistance to managers and service coordinators. So if you can take a couple things out of this, I hope you learn that smoke-free policies are profitable, popular, and they're legal. The HUD smoke-free policy will be in effect by July 30th, 2018. Reach out to Clear Gains, your local tobacco-free coalitions, and/or your health departments for support. Hold resident engagement sessions. Provide quit smoking resources. And most importantly, enforce your policy.
Okay, thank you, Jaime. All right, so now we're going to move over to Spencer, and we'll give time at the end of the webinar to address questions for both Jaime's and Spencer's presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, everybody. I'm Spencer Straub. I'm the Media and Communications Coordinator for the state's Tobacco Prevention and Control Program. I'm really excited to talk to you today about our new campaign, Tobacco is Changing. Just a note that this presentation is usually given by our agency that we work with, Canupa Watson and Wellman, KW2. So you'll notice their logo on a bunch of the slides. But I am filling in, I'm pitch hitting, and I'm really excited to share the campaign with everybody. So just a quick overview of what we're going to be looking at today. I'm going to take you through the key steps of the campaign development, through the origin, the evolution, and the most fun part, the implementation. So looking at the origin, this really started from some meetings that we had with other people in our movement, and it really started with this question. When you think about tobacco, what's the first product that comes to your mind? Probably something like this. We heard in focus groups for the campaign that for the majority of people, it's cigarettes. We know everybody's familiar with cigarettes. It's what we grew up with. We know what a standard pack of cigarettes looks like. And we fought long and hard in Wisconsin to make a lot of progress in terms of reducing the number of people and youth that are smoking cigarettes. When you look at our adult smoking rate, the progress that we've made is really incredible. In 1994, it was a quarter of the state was smoking, and now it's under 20%. So it's around 17%. So we have made some strides there. And in 2010, we had another big victory, and that was the Tobacco Control Act. And part of that included the FDA prohibiting flavored cigarettes besides menthol. However, that didn't extend to the prohibiting of flavors didn't extend to other types of tobacco products. That left a gap for the tobacco industry to increase the number of and the promotion of flavored tobacco products. So our coalitions have been doing education on this for a number of years, and we had an opportunity to talk to them about how that education was going as part of a communications planning session. And what we heard from coalitions was that they really needed help spreading that message. So our first step after talking to partners was looking at the data, and here's what we found. That more teens right now are using e-cigarettes in Wisconsin than conventional cigarettes. Why do we think that is? Well, the majority of middle schoolers say they wouldn't try an e-cigarette if it didn't have flavors like mint, candy, fruit, or chocolate. But unfortunately, this issue is not just limited to e-cigarettes. Here's an example of real products out there. They look a lot different than that first slide that I showed of all the cigarette packs. These are actual products. They come in all kinds of different forms. You'll note the shiny, colorful packaging and flavors like strawberry, cherry, gummy bear, and even Pop-Tarts. And that's working. 8 out of 10 youth tobacco users report that they started with a flavored tobacco product. And this became a critical point for us in developing the campaign. The facts and the evidence backed by coalitions became really a catalyst for us moving forward. So now we'll talk about how the campaign developed from those first initial identification of some of the issues that we knew we wanted to handle. So let's look at this. Which of the following is not an actual tobacco product flavor? And yes, one of them listed is unicorn poop. We have peach, Smurf cake, and banana smash. The answer? They're all real tobacco products. These all really exist. And we knew that this is something that we wanted to hear how people felt in Wisconsin about this, and really what were some of the best ways that we could to approach the issue. So part of that is about understanding the landscape. Once we decided to move forward, we wanted to look at what was out there. That included looking at the products to get more familiar with them, and as well as some of the issues around them. It also meant looking to see how other states and organizations were approaching the issue from a media standpoint. So we took a look at what else was out there on this topic. So you'll see some of the usual suspects on here. The Truth Campaign has done some great work on this. They did a campaign back in 2011 that was really focused on flavors, but they've handled a lot of different tobacco topics over the years. We looked at a California campaign called Still Blowing Smoke. That was really one of the first big campaigns to take on the issue of e-cigarettes, and we saw a lot to admire from that, and we looked at their stuff really closely. Here in Wisconsin, we have our own program, the FACT program. That's our youth advocacy movement. That is really focused on youth educating their peers on the dangers of tobacco. But if you look at a lot of these campaigns, they're great, but they're really more focused on talking to youth. So we saw an opening to get this message to parents. And one of the big ads that we used in sort of developing our approach for this was this ad from California. It's just a screenshot. This ad was developed in California. It was used in Oregon and Minnesota, and it was found to be really effective. Basically, it's about as simple a concept as you can get. There are some kids interacting with the actual products on a table without any sort of foreknowledge about what they are, and the kids are immediately attracted to their colors, to the different flavors. One cute little girl asks, "Can I keep this?" So it's really kind of a shocking ad, and we thought that we might be able to take some pieces of that approach for what we did in Wisconsin. So we knew our overall objective was to reduce youth use of all tobacco products, but what we really wanted to do was to reach out to a specific audience, and that was Wisconsin parents and middle schoolers. We wanted to try to zero in on that. We wanted to hear what they had to say on this topic and how they felt. So we started by going to them. We went out to 6 groups of parents around the state. We looked at Milwaukee, Rice Lake, and Wausau. We wanted to sort of see where they're at, where their familiarity with these products was. It was a combination of testing a little bit of messaging with them to sort of see what would be the right approach to really resonate. But then also we just kind of wanted to see what they knew about this. And what we found was that they didn't know a lot about it. And when they saw the products themselves, that's when this became real to them, and they really were fired up. So here's what they told us. They were shocked by the packaging and the flavoring. They still thought of tobacco as cigarettes. That was one of our biggest takeaways, was that many parents thought that if they talked to their kids about not smoking, that they had kind of done their job. This other products not really on the radar. They were worried that a lot of these products were undetectable, or they were really subtle. A lot of them said, if I saw this in my kid's backpack, I wouldn't necessarily recognize this as a tobacco product. I wouldn't think we'd have to have a conversation about it. And they really told us loud and clear that they were hungry for more information. They didn't necessarily need a bunch of flash and style, although I like to think we gave it to them anyways. They really just wanted information. So now we get into implementation, and this is really how we took those findings from the focus groups and from our initial surveillance of the landscape and started to turn this into a real campaign. So that started by developing some different storyboards. We had a couple of ideas for the inroad, but what we really had a sense of talking to parents was that they really wanted someone, they wanted to hear this issue not necessarily from someone in public health, but really from someone that was kind of in the foxhole like them. That's maybe someone that had just recently learned about this, that was fired up about it, that was concerned about it, that would be really approachable. So this is one of the storyboards that we put together and that we tested, and you'll see how that actually played out in just a few minutes with the actual ads. One of the things that we knew we had to get right with this campaign was finding our perfect spokesperson. We knew with the statewide campaign, it's a hard task, but we wanted to try to find one person that could really appeal to parents all throughout Wisconsin. We actually tested 13 different talent or 13 different actors for the part of our concerned parent. What we did was we showed them an audition reel, and we had focus group participants in Milwaukee, Rice Lake, and Green Bay sort of grade them on, do I believe this person? Do I trust this person? Do I like this person? Really just getting that initial first read. It was really about, do we have someone that can create an immediate connection? And we really found someone in Marie Justice. This is her from her audition tape, and the competition, considering she went up against 12 other people, it just wasn't even close. All of her marks were through the roof in every different area of the state, which was great to see because we did specifically want to test in different areas of the state to make sure that the person really resonated. So we landed on this concept that tobacco is changing. We had our spokesperson in place, and we knew that that was the message that we wanted to communicate to parents, was that if they thought that talking to their kids about tobacco just meant being up on cigarettes, that was not correct, that there was more to it than that. And so that was really what we wanted to focus on with this campaign. So now I'm going to show you one of our ads. We have a number of different ad materials that I would definitely recommend people check out. But the two that I'm going to be showing during this presentation are our two 15-second ads. 15-second ads were chosen because a lot of our buy is online. So we wanted something that would get around people skipping it. If you go with a 30-second ad, that you have a less chance of people watching the whole thing. And believe it or not, we even have some 6-second ads too. I don't know what that says about the attention span of the human race, but apparently Facebook has found that's one of the most effective ad length sizes there is. So with this first ad that I'm going to show you is called Piñata.
As a parent, I thought I knew what tobacco looked like. I had no idea. Now a dangerous nicotine addiction comes in all kinds of shapes and candy flavors. Tobacco's changing, parents. We've got to keep up.
Now I'm going to show the second ad, and Marie probably wouldn't be very happy with me with the screenshot that is running right now, so we'll get to that in just a second. But one of the things that I wanted to point out that's really interesting with the campaign, you never know what you're going to hear from focus groups, and it ranges from the big sort of, whoa, that's a major takeaway, and we can build our whole campaign around it, to the really subtle. And so one of the things that you might have noticed at the end there is that Marie said, tobacco is changing, parents, we've got to keep up. And in the original script, it said catch up. And people really, in our focus groups, told us that they didn't like the implication of that. They didn't like being told that they were behind. They liked keep up as a way to sort of say, this is an issue that we care about, and we've got to give it some extra attention, not that we're completely blindsided by this, even if the reality was that this wasn't on their radar. So now I'll show the second one, balloons. If I can find my mouse.
I don't know when tobacco started changing, But man, now tobacco comes in all these new sweet flavors. Grape, cotton candy, gummy bear? What? Tobacco's changing, parents. We've got to keep up.
So all that hard work led to those. Again, along with that, we have the 2 15 seconds, 3 6-second ads. And then you'll see on this next page, this is a screenshot from our website for the campaign. It's part of the DHS website. Tobacco is changing. We also developed a 2-minute video that's a little bit more of a deep dive into the topic. What we heard from parents was that they wanted a lot of information on that, and that's really what we give them with the site. And it starts with this approachable person talking about the different forms that tobacco takes, the different issues around tobacco, and the different flavors that tobacco is being packaged in. So this is a screenshot from one of our pages, and what we heard in the focus groups and what we've tried to stay true to throughout the campaign is to kind of let the products do the talking. That parents, this became so much more of a real thing to them when they could actually see flavors like banana strawberry and white grape, or they could see a shiny purple wrapper versus the pack of cigarettes that they were used to. So really trying to put those up front and center so that people can really understand what we're talking about with the issue. Another unique thing that we tried to do with the campaign was to interact with parents at a few different levels. We knew that we had sort of two tiers of parents that we wanted to talk to. The first tier of parents, the immediate action that we'd want them to take is, at the very least, just learning more and talking to their kids about this. So to say, you know, what's going on with what's going on with tobacco, whatever kind of form that topic took with their kids. That's what we wanted them to hit. But we also knew that we wanted to, if we could, reach another tier of parents. And those were the parents that maybe would start there, but then would say, I'm interested in learning more about what's going on in my community. I might want to get involved with the Tobacco-Free Coalition. So we gave them an opportunity to do that with a page on our site called Take Action. On this page, they can get, at the very least, some tips for talking to their kids about these products, but it also scales to the other end of things where they can get connected with the Tobacco-Free Coalition in their area. That was really something that we wanted to provide, even going as far back to when I mentioned talking to our coalitions and networks about the help that they needed. We wanted to get this issue out there, but then if we could also maybe get them some potential leads for new coalition members as well. So now I'll show a couple of the elements of the campaign beyond the videos. This first one is one of our billboards. It's running in Milwaukee and Superior. It's this big, bold billboard, very colorful and very simple message. Here's hoping your kids hate sweets. TobaccoIsChanging.com. Next up is a print ad that we're running in Milwaukee. So you'll see that some of the ads focus more on the packaging and some of the ads focus more on the flavors. We tried to sort of mix that up a little bit. The ad I showed a minute ago was a little bit more on the flavors and the colors. This one is a little bit more focused on the packaging, and specifically the packaging similarity to non-tobacco products. So on one hand, she's holding some tobacco products. On the other hand, she's holding some icebreakers and airheads and things like that. And you can really see, wow, they do look similar. So, of course, with this media campaign, in addition to the videos and the billboards, some of the more traditional elements, we also are in the social realm as well. So these are some of the ads that we'll be running through that DHS will be promoting for the campaign. This is called a carousel ad, where you start with one image and you click through to multiple images. But just to really, the purpose of this one was to really try to give the sense of the scope of the issue and the breadth of the products that are out there. And sort of similar with this one, again, using the products to tell some of the story for us, that in some cases we found that we don't even really need that much text to go along with them, that when people see things like a big sweet attached to a pack of cigars, or that you can get 2 for $1.49, that tells a lot of the tale for us. In addition, we've also developed some posts about the campaign. So some of the stuff that we showed before is ads. These are more posts that will be running off of the department's Facebook page as well. So if you're not following the department on Facebook, Department of Health Services, I would definitely recommend it. That's a great way to see some of these ads. And they obviously post a lot of other materials that would probably be relevant for you as well. It's just as simple as going to Facebook and then doing a search for Wisconsin Department of Health Services. Now, to give a sense of the timing, this campaign is going to run for a while. It started last week, and it's going to be running through March of 2018. To give a sense of what's running where, we're running our paid social and our paid online throughout the whole state. Unfortunately, the realities of budget were that we had to sort of make some decisions about where we wanted specific pieces of the campaign to run. So we're running our billboards in Milwaukee and Superior. We have cinema ads playing in Milwaukee, Green Bay, and Wausau, and those start next week. Very excited about that. May have to make a trip to Milwaukee just so that I can see one of them. So that's something to look for if you're in those areas. We'll be in front of all, I believe it's PG, PG-13, and R-rated movies. So really excited about that. And then we're also running newspaper ads in Milwaukee, specifically in the Milwaukee Courier and the Milwaukee Community Journal. So what are some ways that you can think of to support the campaign? I think that's something that we want people to be thinking about. Unfortunately, we don't have the budget of the tobacco industry, so we can't be blowing out the airwaves on this for, at the highest level frequency for the next 5 years. So for right now, we've got a good start to it, but we can use all the help that we can get. A few ideas that we had were potentially sharing something in your newsletter about the campaign, simple things like commenting or liking on DHS paid and social media, or sharing those social media posts to your own pages. Anything like that can really help sort of get the word out on this campaign. So I think that's something that, if you want to think about, and then when we get to the end, I'll have some contact information too. So if you want to reach out to me, if you have ideas for ways that you can help spread the word on this, that's something that I'm always really excited to talk about with folks. So questions, but that's for everybody.
It's for everybody. Okay, well, thank you again, Jaime and Spencer. I have already learned a lot just from being here for these presentations. So I guess we can start with some questions. One for Jaime. Jaime, what type of presentations are available for or from a local MJC coordinator on clear gains? So as far as like MJC wanting to have a presentation to share with others, is there anything out there for them specifically on clear gains?
Yeah, there is a very basic clear gains presentation. It kind of runs through what clear gains is, how smoke-free policies affect housing, that kind of thing. A lot of our MJC coordinators have also kind of made their own depending on how the housing authority wants to frame their policy and their moving forward implementation process. But yes, they're out there.
Okay. And is there a specific length of time that the presentations are, or an audience that they're specifically creating their presentations for?
Well, they're usually creating their presentations for the residents of the buildings.
Okay.
Yep. So normally, let's just say they're about an hour. They usually go on for an hour, but that includes, introduction, talking, the whole 9 yards, and they're tailored for organizations as well. Okay. So it kind of depends what they want to do, and they kind of shape them as they feel fit.
Okay. So if someone were interested in, say someone wanted to work with a local MJC and have that presentation content, they could contact them.
Yeah.
And get that.
Without a doubt.
Okay, wonderful. And are you seeing most housing and urban development facilities already giving notice to residents, or are they waiting until a certain time when they're going to give like a 60-day notice? Anything like that? What are you seeing?
We're definitely recommending that they don't just give a 60-day notice.
Okay.
We're already quite a few months into this. I mean, they only have till July now to do the final implementation. So most of our MJCs have been working with their HUD housing, and they already have told their residents they have a policy date. Not all housing authorities are going to be going that end of July. Some of them are going January, some of them are going June. I mean, I've heard everything through the books. So it kind of depends, but most of the rollouts, they've been giving, 6 to 12 months to let residents know and work with them moving forward.
Okay, so definitely recommending sooner the better to get
Definitely.
facilities going. Okay. All right, and then for Spencer, is the spokesperson, would you call the spokesperson for changing, or the tobacco is changing campaign, would you call Marie kind of your spokesperson for Wisconsin?
Yeah, so one of the things that we've talked about potentially is adding other spokespeople, if the campaign were to continue. Originally, we thought we might need more than one because we tested in different areas of the state. We thought different areas of the state might respond to different spokespeople, but we were really heartened to find that across the board, Marie was the person that people really preferred.
Right.
And that went across demographics, geographic demographics, but also race and ethnicity, income level as well.
Very relatable person. Okay. And what type of demographics and geography did you use for, focusing in on this audience?
So we looked at a few different things. Some of the decisions that were made about where different segments of the buy were placed were based on areas of the state that really indexed high with smoking. So we tried to plan it around that, areas that had high tobacco use as well. We were looking specifically at parents of middle schoolers, and we were looking at low to middle income parents of middle schoolers or early high school as well. And again, we tried to reflect that with the focus groups, the 2 rounds of focus groups that we did in terms of testing in those different areas of the state.
Okay. And you had mentioned specifically the ads are going out in Milwaukee, Green Bay, and Wausau. Is that correct?
So, and Superior, for
okay.
billboards, and then the online video portion, the digital media and the paid social media will run statewide.
Okay.
And actually, I mentioned that I wasn't sure how much detail to go into, but with our Facebook buy, we can really target. So we can look specifically at making sure that we're hitting parents in the right age range for the parents and the right age range for the kids. We can base it sort of on a little bit of their profile of what their Facebook experience is like. So we can get really, really targeted. That's one of the benefits there versus TV is really expensive, but it's also pretty hard TV is really expensive. It can be really effective, but it's really hard to target there. I mean, if you run on TV, you're really going to be kind of hitting everybody.
Right.
So we really tried to specifically get the ads running on sites where we knew our target audience would be. So great question. Thank you.
Yeah. And then you kind of already covered this, but do the online ads direct people to the Department of Health website with all the details?
Yep. Everything, every element of that campaign connects to tobaccoischanging.com. That's a redirect for a page off of the DHS website. And on that DHS website, we have information about the products. We have so the different types of tobacco products, the different issues around the tobacco products, and then some steps that parents can take related to whether it's in their own house or in their community.
Okay, great. A lot of good information that's being brought, channeling a lot of people to that information.
That is really what we heard in that first round of focus groups was that people wanted to just read about it, learn about it, and they did not want to have a conversation with their kids without really doing their homework first. They felt like if they would have, say, just left the focus groups or just seen an ad and then started talking to their kids, that they might not be prepared for that. They thought their kids would probably know more about this topic than they did.
Right. And I think with this campaign, the ads do really they do a great job of bringing in the attention of someone and like making it clear what they need to be aware of that's changing and, the focus that's being brought to it, but then giving, a direction for more education. That's the way to go.
Thanks. Yeah, believe it or not, 15 seconds is not enough time to communicate every message that you want to people. So you do have to sort of prioritize. And we chose one around flavors and one around packaging, and really those colors and flavors to get people's attention.
Mm-hmm. Well, and even when you were doing your presentation and the ad that said which hand is holding the tobacco, it took me a moment to see that it was candy that the woman was holding. So
draw your own conclusions.
Right. And I have another question on the cost of these products. So is there a cost difference between the traditional tobacco products and the new and flashy ones? And does the campaign target, I guess we already addressed that, does the campaign target a certain regional socioeconomic group?
I'll take the first part of the question.
Yeah.
There's a big difference.
Right.
It's not necessarily an explicit message in some of our advertising. The 2-minute video gets into a little bit, and it's also on the website as well. And some of it you just can see in the advertising. So you can see 3 for 99 cents or 2 for $1.49 with some of those little cigars and cigarillos versus when you're looking at a pack of cigarettes that's around $8 probably. So there's a huge price differential there. And I think that as the campaign continues to evolve, that's definitely a message that we could hit pretty hard too. And then in terms of the other piece, I kind of lost track of the,
was there a specific, and we had kind of addressed that too, but any specific region or socioeconomic group that you feel like it's targeting?
Not necessarily. Okay. We're not trying to target we're trying to target more parents that fall into that have kids in that specific age range. We're not trying to place more of a priority on one over the other, but there are some different messages that may resonate more with some parents than others. So menthol is an issue that we get into on the website that is relevant for everybody, but specifically is really framed around the really high use of menthol products among African Americans and the targeting that goes on of that population with menthol products as well.
Okay. Right, because you don't want to just focus this information on just one group. It's information for everyone across the state.
Well, and potentially the campaign could evolve to really focus, to really zero in on specific groups. But we thought to make a splash like this, we're not trying to reach everybody. You know, I never want to say we're trying to reach the general public, because the general public is everybody. But trying to zoom in on that as much as possible. One of the things that I didn't have a chance to get into was that we developed really specific parent profiles of who our target audience was that we're trying to reach. And that goes into everything from income to how many activities their kids are involved in, because all those different things could affect whether you fall into that first tier of, I really just have time to have a conversation with my child about this, or that second group of, you know, I want to take another step.
Okay. And I guess, so for the next step, they have the information to go and find on the DHS website. But is there an in-person presentation about tobacco is changing that a school or community groups can request?
I think that's something that we're definitely interested in. It's not something that we've done yet. I think if folks are interested in putting something like that together, if they want to reach out to me, I think that would be great.
Okay.
One other thing is that we're also developing some fact sheets for the campaign as well that will be available on the website. And really, they're just a way to distill the information that's on the website into more of a handout type form.
Okay.
So look for that soon.
It's coming soon.
It's coming soon. We gotta leave something to the imagination. So.
All right. Well, thank you again, Jaime and Spencer, for being here with us today. I have on this slide a picture of those great balloons.
Yes, and that's I always want to give her a shout out. That's Michelle Sweet. She's our contact at KW2, and as you might imagine, filming We filmed all of that in one day. So 2 15-second ads, 3 6-second ads, and a 2.5-minute video. It was a long day, but it was a very fun day. And there were crazy shaped balloons that we definitely needed to, that we had the gummy bear up in our office for about a month after the filming. So yeah, that person was really talented.
The gummy bear stuck around.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, thank you again. If anyone has more questions that they want to specifically direct to either Jaime or Spencer, their contact information is on the screen, both their email and phone numbers. But thank you again for bringing these two very important things that are happening in Wisconsin, both the change in our housing ruling with being smoke-free and reducing exposure to loved ones and just people living in multi-unit housing. And then also, as tobacco continues to change, keeping everyone up to date with how to educate yourselves and be prepared for those conversations.
Awesome.
Okay,
Thanks for having us,
you.
everybody. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, everyone. And we will be sharing a recording as well as the slides from this presentation today. So thank you again and have a great rest of your day.